The tension on the Good Morning America set was palpable the moment Samuel L. Jackson sat down opposite George Stephanopoulos. Initially scheduled as a light-hearted segment to promote his upcoming film, things quickly took a turn when Stephanopoulos pressed Jackson on a series of politically charged questions that veered far from the agreed-upon topics. Visibly caught off guard, Jackson tried to pivot back to the film. But Stephanopoulos continued, questioning the actor's past statements on social justice, his criticism of government policies, and even subtly implying hypocrisy in Jackson's outspoken persona. What began as polite disagreement escalated rapidly. Jackson's demeanor shifted from cool and composed to fiery and unfiltered.
I am reminding everyone why he remains one of Hollywood's most unapologetically authentic voices. You want to talk about the film, or do you want to play this gotcha
game? He snapped, leaning forward with intensity. When Stephanopoulos persisted, Jackson stood up mid-interview, eyes locked on the host, and delivered a final line that silenced the entire studio. "You don't invite me on to lecture me. If you can't handle the truth, don't ask the damn question." With that, he walked off set, leaving Stephanopoulos stunned and producers scrambling to cut to commercial. The incident immediately went viral, clips flooding social media with reactions ranging from outrage to admiration. Within hours, hashtags like hashtag Samuel Jackson Unfiltered and hashtag GMA Clash were trending worldwide. And media pundits began dissecting what had gone wrong and what the fiery exchange said about the state of modern media and celebrity interviews. Asterisk as footage of Samuel L. Jackson storming off Good Morning America dominated headlines and social media. Public response split sharply along ideological and cultural lines. Supporters hailed Jackson's walkout as a necessary refusal to be baited into a sensationalist ambush disguised as journalism. Fans and fellow celebrities praised his restraint during the early parts of the interview, noting how he initially tried to steer the conversation back to his work before finally snapping. When it became clear the questions were less about insight and more about entrapment, critics, however, accused him of overreacting and being unprofessional, arguing that public figures should be prepared for hard questions, especially when they use their platform to speak on societal issues. Yet others noted the double standard. Often at play how outspoken figures like Jackson are regularly expected to justify their opinions while being denied the dignity of a fair, good faith exchange. Media analysts pointed out the growing pressure on traditional outlets like GMA to generate viral content in an age where attention equals currency. Rather than allow meaningful discussion, some claimed the show's producers likely encouraged a more confrontational approach to drive viewership and online engagement. In response, ABC released a brief statement saying they respect all voices and regret the interview didn't proceed as planned.
Ow.
Without naming either Jackson or Stephanopoulos directly, Jackson, for his part, offered no apology and didn't return calls for follow-up commentary. Instead, he simply posted a single tweet: "I said what I said." That minimal statement, powerful in its finality, was retweeted over 100,000 times within hours. A modern mic drop that made clear he had nothing more to add. Asterisk behind the scenes. The fallout from the explosive exchange sent ripples through the Good Morning America production team and the broader media industry. Producers reportedly scrambled to contain the damage, holding emergency meetings and reaching out to Jackson's representatives in an effort to smooth things over, or, at the very least, keep the situation from escalating further. But Jackson was in no mood to play cleanup. According to a source close to the actor, he viewed the interview as a calculated ambush meant to provoke a reaction, and he had no interest in offering the network an easy out. "Sam doesn't play that game," the source said. "Showed up in good faith to talk about his work. They tried to make him into a headline, and now they've got one." Meanwhile, George Stephanopoulos, normally a composed and measured presence, was reportedly rattled by the encounter. Some insiders claimed he had pushed back against the producer's last-minute addition of controversial topics to the interview outline, but was overruled in the interest of making the segment more compelling. As media watchdogs began dissecting the exchange frame by frame, even longtime viewers began to question whether GMA had lost its way. The line between journalism and entertainment had never seemed thinner. On talk radio and Twitter alike, a chorus of voices emerged defending Jackson's decision to walk, describing it as a rare act of resistance against the media's tendency to provoke under the guise of inquiry. For many, his defiance wasn't just about one interview, it was a statement against the broader machinery of exploitation in the media landscape. It struck a nerve. Asterisk, as the controversy refused to die down, it sparked wider cultural conversations. Far beyond the Good Morning America studio, think pieces poured in from major outlets, debating everything from celebrity accountability to the ethics of televised journalism. Social commentators argued that the clash was emblematic of a larger societal exhaustion, with gotcha questions, performative outrage, and the erosion of genuine dialogue. Samuel L. Jackson, already known for speaking bluntly and without fear, inadvertently became a symbol of resistance to media manipulation. Colleges hosted panels dissecting the incident, podcasters replayed it with dramatic analysis, and late-night comedians riffed on it with mixed tones of humor and concern. Meanwhile, in Hollywood, producers and publicists quietly began reassessing their clients' appearances on high-profile talk shows. "The risk is too great now," said one veteran publicist anonymously. "You go in expecting softballs and come out trending for the wrong reasons." Even actors who typically stayed apolitical weighed in, some defending Jackson, others cautioning restraint. Yet Jackson himself remained characteristically unmoved by the tidal wave of public opinion. When cornered by paparazzi days later, he simply smirked and said, "Some folks like to poke bears, but sometimes the bear bites back." That line too went viral. Merchandise popped up online within hours. T-shirts, mugs, even phone cases, emblazoned with Jackson's quote. The moment had officially transcended the event, becoming a kind of cultural shorthand for standing one's ground when provoked. It was no longer just a story about a tense interview. It had become a defining media moment of the year. Asterisk, in the weeks following the confrontation, the long-term effects on both Samuel L. Jackson and Good Morning America became increasingly evident. Jackson's latest film, initially expected to open with moderate success, saw a surge in ticket sales partially driven by fans who admired his unapologetic stance and wanted to show support. Studio insiders admitted that while they hadn't anticipated such attention, the publicity windfall had undeniably boosted awareness and box office numbers. Meanwhile, ABC's internal review of the incident reportedly led to a re-evaluation of their editorial practices, with whispers of stricter oversight on how interviews are structured and what guidelines anchors must follow when dealing with high-profile guests. George Stephanopoulos returned to the air a few days later, offering a measured acknowledgement of the backlash without naming Jackson. "Sometimes conversations get away from us," he said on air, "and it's important to listen to really listen." While some saw this as a subtle olive branch, others criticized it as too little too late. Despite the network's attempts to move on, the moment had already entered pop culture's collective memory. Parody sketches appeared on Saturday Night Live, reenactments flooded TikTok, and media ethics classes began including the clip in their curricula. For Jackson, the incident ultimately cemented his legacy, not only as a cinematic icon, but as a figure who wouldn't tolerate media theatrics at the expense of integrity. The confrontation served as a flashpoint less about ego, more about the demand for respect. In a world saturated with noise, he reminded everyone of the value in knowing when to speak up, when to walk out, and when to let silence say everything. Asterisk.